Take your hobby to the next level with a quality racing rig that works great with a PS3, Xbox 360, and a PC.
Alright, see you on stream.
GT Omega Racing Simulator is compatible with a wide range of steering wheels, including Logitech, Fanatic, Thrustmaster, and more. The GT Omega is available now worldwide by going to www.gtomegaracing.com.
Good afternoon and welcome to ARL-TV for this round 8 of the Grand Am series. I'm joined in the commentary box this week with a couple of special guests. Liam Williams from Team Apex Racing UK and Marcus Caton from the Drivers' World Championship Series Team Alienators. Hello gentlemen, welcome to this live broadcast of the Grand Am series.
Hello.
In stereo, just what we like. Road Atlanta then, tricky little track for many. What's your guys' experience of this place?
It's a very fun little track. Track in my home state, of course. A few tight, twisty corners as well. A very small margin for error, and of course a back straight, which you can set up to a lot of superb passes there. So it's a very fun track. Everything all together in one tight little package.
Liam, you like your endurance races, so this track right up your alley, I think.
Yeah, this is one of my favourite tracks. It's got good places to overtake the slower cars, as well as through the S's. It's incredibly difficult. So if you catch the slower cars in the right place, you can make up a lot of time if somebody a little bit in front or behind you has caught them in the wrong place.
I've just about got the pictures up now. Let's just take a quick look at the qualifying grid as it stands. And who wants the honours of going through the grid names then, gents?
Chi Nguyen on pole, it seems. It's a very nice time, 14.1. Big gap back to Dean Prescott at the 14.9. Then you have Vadis Skidali? Jesus Christ. Apologies. Then Andre.
See, now you know why I palm it off. Apologies to the guys. Andre, and then we've got Jesus in 5th. Just going through the rest of the order quickly. Tudor in 6th, Stefano in 7th, Conrad Venter, Apex Racing UK, 8th. Sorry, Marcus, I've jumped right in here. Arjun in 9th, Peter in 10th, Andreas in 11th, Philip Johansson in 12th, Brian Cornwin even in 13th, and Liam, over to you, perhaps for the MP4 grid.
Yeah, we've got Julian Oligo on pole, ahead of Ricardo Schiavon. Marco Testani 3rd, Nilton Carvalho 4th, Adonis Papageorgiou in 5th, then Yuri Flossi, Gustafsson, Potzel and Kotovsky, running off the ones that have actually set a time. Quite a few who haven't set a time, starting with Steve Hobbs, Peter Kiermaier, Stanimir Zuzov, Stephen Linnett, Andrea Lohalo, Eduardo Pereiras and bringing up the rear is Thim Fan.
It's a pretty sizable grid there, and I give you a shout out, Liam. Those Leeds guys, they really know how to pronounce the names. Me and Marcus fail miserably.
Experience, I'm sure.
Just looking at the layout, obviously it's the full layout here today. I think obviously it's going to be tricky for the Rileys to get through in the sweep-in section early on, so a lot of patience is going to be required. Good chance to catch up with your rivals that might have built up a couple of second lead here as well, so could be a very, very interesting race. And I think it's all going to be about the traffic later on.
Yeah, traffic can really come into play here. It really is down to the look of when you end up catching the slower cars or when the faster cars are coming by you. If it's on the straight, it's easy. Nobody loses any time. In fact, the DPs could gain a little bit in the draft. But through the first few corners, you just can't get past. If you force it, it's very likely there's going to be a crash.
Absolutely. I mean, it's a smart move for all drivers to take it easy, going through the first few corners to survive, and then start racing. Going through the middle sector, and down the back straight. Trying to take too much going into turn one can lead to you running wide, and that's it. You're off the track, and so gravel traps here for you to survive. It's straight off into the wall. So, very interesting stuff going to turn one, it seems.
Got a little technical glitch, but we should be back up and running by the time we the guys finish the parade lap here.
Very sizable GT grid in this race at the moment.
Yeah, this is probably one of the biggest grids I think we've seen while doing these little broadcasts, so it's nice to see the turnout picking up. I think a few more of the guys realising that we're doing this and getting involved, and I think listening to most of the drivers there, the Europeans are desperate for a decent strength of field race that splits. So we're not far from that. Let's hope over the next couple of weeks we start to see that happening.
Well, it is looking good. I suspect we'll have a very good race for, a second all the way back to 8th. These guys are very close on times at least. Chi, is the favorite. He's probably going to scamper off into the distance, but then again, qualifying in the race is two different stories.
Yeah, I've raced with Chi a couple of times in this car and at this track actually last season, and he is incredibly quick and very consistent. But I have seen him make a couple of mistakes, sometimes while being quite far ahead in this car, which could really open it up for anybody. It's an easy track to make a mistake on and lose a lot of time, especially if that mistake is made quite early on.
Yeah, Vettel syndrome can be a problem. Just a matter of staying consistent with your line. Something a lot of drivers have to learn early on. But it can be devastating to lose a race by a personal mistake while leading by a fair margin.
Yeah, we were watching or commentating on a V8 supercar race the other day where the leader had sort of 30-40 second lead, and we basically said, drivers fall into two categories, the Vettels that will constantly race the clock and try and improve the lap time, and the drivers that will just sort of fall into themselves and start lapping slower. As Chi takes them round to the start of this round 8 race, it actually looks like he checked back up a little bit there, but Dean Prescott on the outside got a good run. He's going to have to wing it around the outside if he's going to make a move, but he's having a look.
Oh, it's very wide going into turn 1. Yeah, he has to give it up and get into line, play it safe.
It's just,
best to do that at the start of the race.
Just have a look at the McLarens just to see how they got away. Looks like a clean getaway from them as well. Julian got away great, leads quite comfortably into turn 1 up the hill. It looks like we've got a couple of the Rileys had a come in together.
I think quite see who it was, but most of the grid got through the first 2 corners fairly well, fairly clean. So very smart. It's a matter of wrapping up the race pace now. Go for position.
Looks like the DPs that had the collision are slowing up the leaders of the MP4 field. Can't see any visible damage on them, though, at this point.
No, they look alright, and now that they've got themselves sort of collected, they seem to be pulling back away again. I think that was the opportunity for Ricciardo to jump in there and try and make a move early on. Oh, very, very early on the break in there, and Ricciardo's almost hits the back of Julian.
Much closer racing in the MP4 cars. Fantastic cars to drive, to say the least. You know, the aero plays a decent role, so they should be able to get up behind each other without too much aerodynamic loss. So we should see some good racing in these cars for the rest of the race.
Dean Prescott seems he's fallen a little bit back through the first part of the lap. He stayed quite close at the end of lap 1, but seems to be just dropping back a little bit now. But he's got a good lead over Scridelia in 3rd.
It's one thing I do like is the sound of these Rileys when you're sat inside them, giving it some beans.
Absolutely, it's one of the best sounding cars in racing. Well, before the update anyway. It's a very lively cockpit. It's just a very good experience if you have like 3 monitors racing these cars. Next to the McLaren, it was the best. Looks like, yep, Chewy's pulling away from Dean, a few tenths a lap there, but Dean is very close on the pace, so if Chewy makes a mistake, then he'll be on his tail very quickly.
Yeah, I think for Dean's point of view at this point, he knows he's perhaps a little bit slower, but his main focus is going to be try and stay in touch as much as possible these early few laps. Once they catch up to the back of this MP4 pack and they have to start worrying about traffic, that's when he's going to come back into play. If he can navigate that a bit quicker than Chi, then maybe he can put some pressure on him.
Yeah, it's only going to be a few more laps until they reach the rear of the MP4 field. There's a bigger time difference between the 2 cars than you'd think in the race here. I mean, they're only 5 seconds apart, the two pole sitters on time, but because it is such a short track and with 29 cars, it's going to be very, very busy in a few laps.
We've got a move.
Absolutely.
Car 18 there, just making a move up the inside, the end of the back straight into the chicane. Nice Jack Daniels livery on that. Gets himself up and into 7th place.
Nice move. The guy saw him coming, so he didn't close the door early or anything, so it's pretty clear cut. He has to worry about what looks like a team car behind him.
Yeah, Arjun, I'm pretty sure we've seen him in a couple of races already this season in our broadcasts. I think he had a good race with Conrad Venter. He's just behind him at the moment, so he was really, really patient and waited for a move at Mid-Ohio. And so I expect he'll do something very similar, but going to get a bit of a draft down this back straight. He's tucked up really close.
He's got a good run out of onto the back straight, so I'd expect him to go for a move at the end of this.
Yeah, Arjun, good draft coming down the back straight here. Let's see if he pulls over to the left fairly early.
Yeah, he's going for it. Nice.
Well, good positioning. Andre didn't put up much of a fight there, so maybe he knows he's a bit faster.
Yeah, Andre's lost quite a lot of time actually there, letting him past, and now he's got Conrad Venter in his mirrors.
Yeah, Conrad's under a bit of pressure himself as well. So this little gaggle of Rileys here having a right little battle.
Oh, Dean had a moment there coming at the S's.
Andre as well making a mistake, lets the 2 following cars going through. He looks very unsettled out there this afternoon.
I've driven these cars in a while. but I do know that the setup can play a big role in terms of balance. So it is universal in all cars, of course, but some cars are more sensitive to what you do. So maybe some cars aren't that comfortable through the S's, and it's just the last sector to worry about after that.
I think here is a place where you really have to compromise different parts of the circuit with your setup. You're never really going to get anything that's perfect everywhere due to those S's, which, if you don't have a setup for it, can be an absolute nightmare.
Already Cheese coming up to the first of the MP4s here. Oh, and he spins out in front of him as well. It's not what he needs. Is he going to come back on the track? Keeps it over to the left.
Unfortunately, close to the barrier. So hopefully that McLaren didn't get any damage and that dude can continue on.
Dean's definitely closed up through that phase as well. This is what we were talking about with the traffic. I mean, that just comes as a bit of a shock, as it always is.
Stefano Piccinato lost it in turn 3 and ended up in the wall. He was 6th going past the line previously.
Let's just have a quick look at that.
He's got a lot of damage on the front end.
Yeah, we're seeing the damage here. Let's have a look at the replay of that one back. Not sure we're going back far enough. Oh, we'll just catch the tail end of that actually. That's
Yes, it looks like he spun coming out of turn 2-3 section there.
Oh, it's that typical that uphill blind curb that's at the top of that hill is an absolute swine.
Easy to do, a bit too much curb on the entry. The car is hopping, so he doesn't have the grip in the rear, and it's just a ride from there going into the wall. So he is going to be down on speed. Whether or not he damages front suspension is yet to be seen, but he should be able to make the end of the race, no problem.
Conrad Venter's under a lot of pressure now from Philip Johansson, and I could see a move possibly into turn 1, but Philip didn't quite get the run out of the last turn.
Very close to each other, so there's the back straight to look forward to. I'm sure he's wishing he had some DRS to make it easier going down there.
Johansson definitely looks quicker, but just doesn't seem to be able to get the run on him at the moment. Consistency
plays such a big role, so even if he is faster, if he's not putting it together on a lap-to-lap basis, he's going to see the guy ahead get further and further away until he can put it together and make that pass stick.
Yeah, and Andre seems to be coming back into it.
Just caught on camera there, Hobbs, who was chasing down Peter in the MP4s, made a little bit of a mistake. Lost it in the S's, spun the back end of that McLaren around. He's going to have to fight his way back up there. Doesn't look like he lost any places, managed to hold on to that.
Well, the MP4 field seems quite spread out, although actually there's Peter Kiermaier and Oliver Potts are side by side going into the chicane at the end, almost making contact, but just
Peter
surviving.
Coming out on top there. Oh.
Dean is really staying in contact with Chi at the front here. Never really more than a second away.
Surprisingly so. I mean, we did touch on his consistency, whether or not that might be a problem later in the race. Maybe
just as he makes a mistake. Although that probably helped gain some time.
I'll get a slowdown through cutting all that, and
although perfect timing, he's got some back markers ahead. He's lost it again. So car's getting a bit squirrely underneath him. Perhaps just overheated those rear tyres a little bit.
Or he's gotten a bit frustrated from his mistake. Mistakes breed mistakes sometimes. He just needs to calm down, try and put it together to catch back up.
Yeah, I've always found this track to be one where if you're in your rhythm, it's easy, but once you lose that, you can just keep making mistake after mistake, and it can take quite a long time to get back into that rhythm.
Absolutely, and build the confidence as well, which is probably much more important.
Got an interesting little battle going back in the MP4 field here. Nilton, he's got Oliver and Peter for close company. It's a little 3-car battle.
Absolutely, Oliver's in a good position to set up a pass as long as he can keep up the pace here through the last few corners. It's very close when I'm going to the double right-hander. Whoa!
Contact there.
Unfortunate.
The first right-handers.
Oliver was a bit overzealous on entry there. He was a bit faster, although Nilton, did have a wide entry to the corner, but he didn't slow down enough to not run into the back of him. So racing incident for sure, but it's unfortunate that that possible battle for position was ended prematurely.
It's getting very, very busy at the end of the straight now.
Yeah, there's a lot of cars on this grid, and quite a difference in split with I ratings and performance levels as well, so makes for very, very interesting multi-class racing.
Yes, this one of the big things with multi-class racing is give and take prototypes, or the faster cars in general. They always have to sacrifice some time to pass these GT cars safely. And the GT cars, it's a little bit of the same, but their sacrifice is usually a position or two, because they can't afford to lose time as much as the prototypes can.
There's a good battle going on at the moment between Tudor Miron and Ian Sheppers. Tudor's in 5th at the moment, but he's looking he's looking under a lot of pressure at the moment.
Yeah, and they've got a whole load of traffic in front of them as well that they've got to navigate through.
Absolutely, 4 GT cars ahead, and Arjun is right behind him, so he's going to be in position, but he probably won't be able to pass going into the chicane.
Yeah, sometimes as a DP driver you can be thankful for the MP4s giving you a draft through the straight, meaning that you're not going to get overtaken when you normally probably would.
Is that
Possibly.
Is that a move on the
contact behind?
Side-by-side contact between 2 GT cars there in the chicane. Went for the pass, ran a little bit wide on the exit. The guy was still there, so they made contact.
And that was Nilton Carvalho again. He's
in the
not having
wars
the best of luck these past couple of laps.
Well, he was a driver on the outside, so it looks like he didn't run wide enough to compensate for the driver coming on the inside for the position.
Yeah, and picked up a little bit more damage on that McLaren there as well. Oh, it doesn't look too bad. Looks in reasonable condition.
Well, it's a tough car for sure, for one of the toughest in iRacing. No rubber suspension here.
But there is that last chicane is wide enough to get 2 round it quite happily if both the drivers are willing to give and take a little bit.
Absolutely. Guy on the outside has a chance because it's a chicane, left-right. The outside for the first turn is the inside for the second. But his mistake there was just not running wide enough on entry, giving to take the position back or have the chance to do so on the right-hander coming out of the chicane.
We've got
so
Venter coming under pressure here as well. Looks like Johansson just overcooked it going into the chicane, outbroke himself, and Venter survives. I see Conrad's a driver we know quite well, Liam, being part of Apex Racing UK. Always, his motto is always make sure he finishes the race, drive safe, keep it calm, keep it together. Seems to pay his dues quite well with that, and
oh yeah, definitely.
Always picks up good
his
points.
Improvement. I believe he only started in January on iRacing, and his improvement in that time has been remarkable. He's really taken to this car in particular very, very well. He's not the quickest, approach. But he gets there.
Yeah, slow and steady can do that. And so he's running in 7th position at the moment. It's about 8 or so seconds down from the guy in 6th place, so still a ways to go. But from the way things are looking, you know, he may pick up another 1 or 2 positions towards the end if these guys keep making mistakes.
It's an incredibly busy track at the moment. But the MP4 leaders seem to have spread out quite a lot. At this point, there's a good 5-second lead for Julian over Ricciardo, and then another 9 or so seconds back to Marco Testani.
Looks like Philip Janssen ran wide again going into turn 2. Just lost the position to Andre. Just got ahead of him going through the S's.
Oh, we've got Spinner here as well, coming out of the final right-hander before the back straight. That's Miron.
Oh, he was having a very good race actually. He managed to get a little bit ahead of Ian through the traffic. I've been watching that battle. He was quite aggressive going past some MP4s. He did make a move going into turn 3, which is normally somewhere where I personally would back off quite a lot, but he made it stick and was safe with it. But in the end, it hasn't gone right for him.
Yes, out of the race. It's easy, you know. Just takes one mistake to put you out of the race. So he's going to be kicking himself for that, but hopefully he'll learn from that mistake and you know, push forward in the next race.
Got a question for you, Marcus. Is this a circuit that you're glad that hasn't been in the iRacing Grand Prix series for a little bit, or indeed is it even on the World Championship Series schedule this season?
It's not actually. It is a fun track, but it's just like VIR and you know, Zandvoort and some of these tricky tracks. It limits you. It doesn't allow you to, you know, race the F1 car to its full potential. It you know, suddenly becomes a situation of survival, and you know, just trying to get to the flag, and that's not something that sits well to the mentality of F1 drivers. Want to push and go as fast as possible, and you know, not being able to touch a curve where you might lose the car, you know, that's just not right. So we prefer to have, you know, the wide roomy tracks with runoff areas and stuff. I'm sure like the old boys are complaining that we're you know, making it too easy.
We've got a great battle here for 4th, 5th and 6th place, I think, and got a Riley in the mix just to shake it up a bit.
I've noticed that Conrad Venter actually has some damage, which looking back at it, he actually got from hitting the curb at turn 3 a little bit too hard on lap 14. It didn't look particularly bad, but that can be a particularly nasty curb if you do catch it wrong.
Yeah, you won't lose out too much from that. Very minor damage, maybe a few kph down the straight.
Yeah, his strategy seems to be working quite well for him at the moment. I mean, he's up to 6th place now. He's got a little gap to the car in front and behind, so just carry on as he's going now, and you never know what he can pick up. Battles at the front. Obviously, Cheese pulled away quite a bit from Dean now. 5.7 seconds is the lead, and Julian is the only MP4 that hasn't been lapped. Just having a look at the gap.
Just a quick run through of
it's about 6-7 seconds.
Top 10 here. Cheese in the lead, followed by Dean, which is 5 seconds back, as Simpson said here. Then Edvadis, 11 seconds back. Jesus in fourth, followed closely by Arjun, which is only 2 or so seconds back from him. Those two guys are going through traffic for the last few laps there. Then Andre in seventh, Philip Johansson in eighth, Stefano Picanato in ninth, and Peter Van Wheely in 10th, with about a 3-second gap back to Andres Lazo in 11th. Then GT Cars has a fair bit of gaps in between them, but the leader of the GT car is Julian Oligo, followed by Ricardo.
Earlier on in this lap, Adonis Papageorgiou went wide at turn 1 and let Peter Kiermaier by. He was being lapped by a DP and just gave him a little bit too much room.
So was Pro and Khan. You may leave that prototype a little less room next time by, and that could cost him the race. But he's not, making up any positions, and he's just losing time from playing it too safe. So it's a double-edged sword in what you do, but getting to the flag is the priority, of course.
So we've got 7 retirees at the moment, so keep an eye on that. It's definitely I think you were saying about it for the Williams being a track that you need to survive on. I think it's very similar for these GT cars.
Well, the McLaren surely is easier because they can, ride the curbs, and the car won't really spin on them too much if they get on the grass. The prototypes is a lot less so. Just as we saw, was it Tudor who spun the tires, going onto the back straight and put it into the wall, wouldn't be as easy as that. So the margin for error is a lot smaller, and it's very fine in how much they can push.
Johansson's found a way past Andrei Grigulis, so I'd expect him probably to close up on Conrad Venter in the coming few laps. There's 3 seconds between them at the beginning of lap 18.
Yeah, Philip is putting in some consistent laps. Hopefully he's gotten over the issues he's had before, calmed down a bit, and he's coming up on some traffic, so we'll see how he goes.
Gives that traffic some wide berth as well going into turn 1.
Just necessary. You always want to respect your GT drivers.
You're looking at the laps last time by. Let's just jump at the corner. Yeah, so Conrad Venter 118.6 and Johansson is an 18.4, so just a couple of tenths of a second. Both drivers looked like they had some traffic to deal with there, so.
Conrad looked like he did get held up in the double right-hander before the long straight, which isn't really a place to overtake an MP4 unless you can get them on entry to the first one.
Conrad's slow and steady approach has helped him so far early in the race, but it's not going to save him from Philip Johansson at the moment, who's approaching fairly quickly. He's only just over a second behind him now, with a fair distance to go.
And Philip's going to get the look with this particular MP4 and get him on the straight. A lot of this really can come down to where you do catch the traffic. You can lose so much time if you fall behind an MP4 just before the S's, and the guy behind you gets him on the straight. That can be a good couple of seconds just disappearing into thin air.
Absolutely. The pendulum swings both ways, of course, and it can happen to the guy ahead the next time by. So it's just a matter of taking what you get and working with it instead of, crying too much about it when it does hit you.
It was something I found while driving this car that at first I was getting far too much into my head about how much time people were gaining, but if you think about it too much you lose concentration and you can end up losing a couple of places or just binning it, but you've really just got to concentrate on your own race and deal with the traffic as it comes. There's no point trying to second guess what's going to happen in the future.
Yep, can be frustrating, and the more you're thinking about other stuff, concentration is less, most likely to make a mistake, so it's what drivers have to deal with. But looking at 4th and 5th here, I was looking at the pace between Jesus and Arjun for the last few laps, and Arjun had closed the gap up a bit. It was, almost 2 seconds, and it's just down to 1 at the moment, so hopefully he'll be able to pull up to him and get a pass done, although both of them are just approaching some traffic.
Yeah, I think that might be Ricardo, the P2 driver in the MP4 class.
It was Julian down the road going into the chicane, but Arjun is a lot closer because of that, having to pass a GT car there, and he's looking very close. So, another lap or so, and he should be in a position to make a pass on Jesus.
Got a good battle going on for 6th in the GT field between Oliver Purcell and Steve Hobbs.
It seems like Oliver's been involved with in a few little battles here and there. Every time we jump to him, he's someone having a look, or is he's having a look on someone else? So.
Well, Steve is behind him at the moment. Not close enough on this lap to do anything about it. But another round, lost some time there in the last chicane. But he'll probably make that up in the S's, we'll see. At the moment, the battle between Arjun and Jesus is heating up a bit, going onto the back straight. Arjun is very close behind Jesus, right in the draft, so he'll be in a very good position to make the pass going into the chicane.
Providing he doesn't run too far onto the grass.
Absolutely, moving around a lot there. Alright, looking good, getting into the braking zone. He has a nose, and he played it safe. Jesus left him room, but he didn't take it, so it's smart of him, but it's just gonna cost him another lap before he can do anything about passing Jesus.
It really is the only main place you can get a good overtake unless somebody makes a mistake.
Absolutely. Jesus running a bit wide into turn 1. Right, very close. It's Arjun.
It's fight.
This car is
just jumping on board with him actually there as he hit the curb on the inside. He had to fight to keep the car under control. He was locked to control there, but he did well to hold on to that.
Yeah, he's moving around a lot, so he may be running a bit more aggressive setup that is not too stable in the S's itself. It might be faster, but either way, he's pulled back up to Jesus, and he's very close. So he may not be close enough for the pass going into the chicane here, but he's going to get back closer to his rival, and hopefully he can get him on the next lap.
It looks like they're going to hit an MP4 just at the apex almost, but just a little bit too far.
Sounds like Arjun's peeking out his gearbox as well down that straight. Oh, Jesus just losing it there. Manages to hold on to it.
Arjun has a good run though. It's going to be tight.
Can't do anything there, the MP4 car. Just on the inside.
I think that was wise from the MP4 there.
Yeah, Arjun seems like he's a driver that'll play it safe until he has the pass done, consider it worth the risk. So he had the pace coming out of the last corner. He had a few kph up on Jesus, but he didn't go for it or stick his nose in going to turn 1, which can be a tricky pass, but it is doable.
Yeah, this is pretty much the main battle on track now. Although Johansson
almost going into turn 1 for Oliver Purcell and Steve Hobbs, getting caught up with another lapped MP4.
Yeah,
Alright,
had
so
to take
Arjun.
that back, and Venter still under a fair bit of pressure as well.
It's been quite a few laps. I'm surprised Johansson hasn't, pulled up on Conrad as much as we expected, but he is there, about a second back, or within a second back, I should say, and but he's just not really pulling up to the back of Conrad to trouble him too much. So Conrad may be managing the gap at the moment.
And we've got someone off behind those two. I'm not sure who that is.
It's a GT car.
Now back to this Bauer Johansson. I think this is probably the closest I've seen him through this double apex, well, not double apex, the double right-handers. Very, very tricky corner is that second one. Deceivingly slow. You got to get it in really early.
Looks like he might have a run now.
Yes, although we need to remember he does have a little bit of damage to his right front. Same with Conrad, I think, but let's see. Conrad defends going into the chicane. Both of them about even on the brakes. Conrad has the corner. Johansson just has to follow through. So good defense there from Conrad, very fair. But Johansson needs to pick up a little bit of pace here going into the last few corners before the straight before he can get the move done.
Yeah, I think Conrad could see him coming quite early on and moved over. Do you think is when you're battling someone, that's what you want, is the late moves that can always catch people out, and that's where we see carnage unfold?
Absolutely. Unfortunately, that we see that happen most of the time in the F1 car, where people cut it too fine. But as long as you put yourself in a defensive position early, the driver know what you're doing. So it's just a matter of trying to manage. Although they are approaching some GT cars here, and Conrad is in a compromised position, having to slow up on the exit for a GT car.
Looks like he'll be lucky enough to get the draft from the GT cars ahead, which might keep Johansson at bay.
Yes, but he's going to catch them in the chicane itself, so it's going to be a bit tricky.
Got a slow car.
Oh, that is not a good place to let prototypes by. GT car running wide in the first turn of the chicane there, but they got by fine.
Johansson had thought about making it 3 wide down that main straight there. Conrad just didn't quite leave enough room. I know last week he, at Mid-Ohio, he had a race where he was being chased down pretty much the whole thing. So, should be used to this sort of pressure, but it's going to certainly keep him on his toes, keep him alert.
Absolutely. As long as he's consistent, then the guy behind is probably going to be making the most mistakes. Although he is looking fairly close going to last the double right-handers here before the back straight. Okay, yeah, Philip, much tighter to the apex there. Had a good run coming off of the corner. Again, Conrad goes defensive. Philip too far back to do anything about it. So another lap and he has to push and get a little bit closer going down the straight. Although his damage may be holding him back a bit. We don't know how far down he is on top speed from an undamaged car.
Yeah, it seems, just looking at the front view in each class now as well, G pulled away a 10-second lead now over Prescott, so quite comfortable. Set up the front there.
Oh, it looks like wow, this is weird. Both Arjun and Conrad Sorry.
Oh yeah, Arjun and Jesus both lost
yes.
it. Completely separate from each other.
Yeah, at the same time, it's coming out of the S's there. They both lost the car coming off of the corner, spun the tires, and wow, Jesus got the the bigger hit there. So
yeah, Arjun did well to keep it out the wall, and I think he'll have kept on to his spot.
but that's unfortunate. They were very close, and yeah, Jesus is coming into the pits now, so he has some damage. It's probably his race done, unfortunately. Arjun, didn't get into the wall, but he made the same mistake, of course, and he's continued. So, Arjun just got on to the text there and said good race to Jesus, so recognizing that they had a good race going, but it was ended prematurely, unfortunately.
Steve Hobbs appears to have got ahead of Oliver Purcell at some point.
Yeah, Oliver's dropped down a couple of places since we last
lost
checked in on him.
He lost it coming through the first of the double right-handers. But Steve had actually made the overtake prior to that.
At the same time on track, Johansson is still very close to Conrad, of course. The main battle on the field now that unfortunately Jesus and Aaron is...
You're quite surprised how much the McLarens are spread apart this week. Is that just is that a byproduct of the cars perhaps just a little bit easier to drive here than, say, like the Riley is? So, the fast guys genuinely qualify at the front and just pull themselves away through the race?
Relatively. I mean, it depends on the field, of course. But, this track, there isn't room for error in any of these cars. The GT cars can get away with a bit, but, only so much. So some of these guys are probably, if they're here for the first time, they'll be scared a bit, which is understandable. But it's just a matter of them, putting together, getting safely, and then building their confidence for the next races. But the fight for 5th and 6th between Philip and Conrad is heating up a bit. Conrad lost some time coming out of the S's, and Philip was able to get a run going into the double right-hander, but wasn't able to do anything about it. Now they're going down through the back straight now. See if Philip gets a good run.
Oh, Philip might have a run here into the double right-hander.
Conrad should be thankful for that GT car. What's looking like the inevitable.
With only 7.5 minutes left, there's not too many laps for Philip to get past.
About 6 laps. So he's cutting it very close. It's a matter of if Conrad is getting hot under the collar or not.
Yeah, actually, they just put the move on Julian. They're obviously the leader in the MP4. We were just on board with him as they were coming up. Switched to his gearbox camera. It was a great shot of that. He's a pretty much faultless drive out there at the front. Not really had any competition. Looking like the gap is some 10 seconds or so from Ricciardo. Marco similar sort of distance behind as well. So, as we said, that's very, very spread out, that MP4 field today.
Yep, the majority of them probably playing it safe.
I know we focused a lot on Conrad last week, and I have to say it's not just because he's an Apex Racing UK driver, it's just because that's where all the action's at. And obviously Dean's in this one. Last week he was in the commentary box, but he's had a pretty lonely race out there as well, so we've just left him to it.
Well, on lap 29 actually, he did spin coming out the S's, managed to keep it out the wall. He won't thank me for going back a few laps and looking at that, but I did notice that he'd lost quite a bit of time to cheer up front. Yeah, just just on entrance, the final left-hander just seemed to go a little bit wide, catch the grass, and lucky that he didn't end up in the wall. It's quite a common wall.
Now then, Johansson, sorry, Liam Johansson having a look up the inside, backs out of it.
Dean left in the room, but he'll compromise him here in this last corner. Philip will have a bit more momentum and good run straight.
Just looking back here from Conrad to see what the closing speed's like. I thought Johansson would get more of a draft than he's getting actually.
Yeah, I suspect it is damaged to his right front from his earlier mistake.
Oh, Conrad looks like it's gone wide.
Johansson has a good run coming up the inside. He has a right-hander ahead of the last corner as well, but they have to leave each other room.
Oh, and Conrad's. Oh dear.
Oh, unfortunate. Conrad ran just a little bit too wide. He was leaving him room, but he put himself off for the right-hander. So the outside of the track kind of came up on him there. Tough position to be in. You know, side by side going into the last corner. He probably was going to compromise his entry to fall in behind him, but fortunate.
There really is no room for error on that last corner. The wall is so close. If you just catch the grass, there's nothing you can do.
Absolutely. Even his rival there for position was a bit sad to see that he, you know, retired in such fashion.
Just catching up with Chi at the front here. Just obviously we've only got a few minutes left to run. Wonder if one of you guys would like to take us for a lap on board around this Road Atlanta circuit as he's about to come across the start-finish line.
Okay, I'll give that a go. We on board with Chi?
Yep.
Yeah, it's got so yeah, you've got the start-finish straight. Normally, if I remember from last season, you're just dropping down a couple of gears into turn 1. You need to really get set up for turn 2 and compromise it a little bit for turn 3. You need to stay tight on the exit of turn 2. The S's in qualifying are probably flat, but in the race you're never going to be able to do that, especially at this late stage where the tyres have gone off a bit. And that last left-hander can be really, really awkward if you don't get it quite right. The first of these two right-handers flows really nicely. The second one, I've always found it a horrible corner to get set up for right. And the line, you need to take quite a late apex to get the good run onto the straight. Always helps when you get a bit of draft down the straight. It'll give you a hell of a lot of time in qualifying if you're lucky enough to get a bit. Breaking down, you can take a lot of curb on here and really try and straighten out the chicane. That'll gain you a lot of time as well. You really, normally you're flat through the last corner and it's a very short lap. But it's a lot of fun.
Yeah, 1 minute 16 that last time by. Slightly compromised by the back marker there as well in the same class. But what I noticed a lot when we were looking at him was how little he was working the wheel in that ride. He seemed totally at one with the car. He knew exactly what it was doing and when it was doing it. And you know, we see a lot of guys that will manhandle these cars around, but a very, very smooth driver there.
Yeah, he's got a lot of experience in this car.
He's on old tires as well, so I'm sure he's controlling the pace comfortably and just running that consistent line.
Yeah, I noticed he was doing a little bit of short shifting as well, just keeping those tyres in check.
So last 2 laps to go. Chi is in first place, followed by Dean Prescott, then Edvardes, and Arjun, Philip Johansson, Andre, Jesus was just still in the race, surprisingly. I think he had a lot of damage to the front of his car. He probably got some of that repaired. Andreas in 8th place, and then Peter Van Willy in 9th.
Yeah, in the MP4 class, we've got Julian followed by Ricardo and Marco. Those three just haven't changed all race. Peter Andronis, Steve Hobbs, Stanimir, and we've got Tom Eduardo still running, but a few laps down on the main field there.
Yeah, there's no real battles going on at the moment as the race is coming to its climax.
Yeah, according to my clock, actually, we've got 5 minutes left to go at this point. I think the in-sim clock starts counting as soon as the pace car gets underway, which is not entirely right. Always catches me out. Guys have done 37 laps at the moment, so probably going to be up around the 42 mark by the time this race comes to a close. Makes it quite a long race.
If my memory serves me correctly, it was 41, 42 laps last season. Really depending on how fast the leader is.
Well, leader is pretty fast so far.
Yeah, extremely consistent as well.
I was just watching Dean for the last 2 laps or so. He did mention his mistake earlier in the race, but after that he's pretty much kept on the pace. He's a few tenths a lap off the leader and lost a few seconds in that closing part of the race. But other than the time lost from his mistake, he's been on it.
Yeah, I hope he gets some good points on this. I know he's doing fairly well in the championship, considering the Europeans don't really have the shot to go for the overall title. With it seems to be only the Australians getting the split strength of fields going. So, if you're interested in the Grand Am series, and you're in Europe and you want to get a split race, let's work together and try and make a race go split each week and have a little shot at trying to win this title.
Yep, the more it shows up, the better the race is going to be overall. So it's a matter of it's more of a community effort. I've learned over the years to try and make these SOF races work. Sometimes you have to even go as far as sending out emails to people, or I should say PMs, to notify them of the races and so on to make sure they're sorted.
Yeah, there is a very, very good community with this series. A lot of setups are shared, and it's a very easy series to get into.
Yeah, I think it had a bit of a breath of fresh air when they swapped out the Mustang for the McLaren. Certainly picked up as far as numbers have gone, so let's just hope it carries on.
It's a much sexier car, so don't blame them.
I think the Mustang was an incredibly slow car, and the DP was probably a little bit too quick. You were looking at huge speed differences between the two, and as if any of you are Proto and GT drivers, I'm sure you know the issues with huge speed differences.
Well, from what I've been hearing so far, it's the difference is prototype drivers being a little bit too cheeky.
Well,
that can be quite a common complaint.
Just had the white flag come out, so Cheese just crossed the line, so he's got one more lap to go. And we had a MP4 in the wall there in the background. I'm not sure who that was.
Looks like it was Andrea Lohello. He's in 23rd position. 10 laps down, he's just trying to bring it home.
Yeah, so final time down into this chicane then for Chi. 28 second lead last time by So nice little drift in there. Why not finish this race in a little bit of style? Over the crest, down this right-hander for a fantastic win, round 8 of the Racing Grand Am Series. He'll be delighted with that.
Yeah, so on the brakes there, Chi Nguyen winning the race fantastically well, 28 seconds back to Dan Prescott, who's yet to cross the line. Dean, sorry. Dean, going through the chicane right now, still a good position, second place on the podium with a decent amount of points. Edivaris is still a ways behind. So a good race overall. At the start, seeing some clean racing for the first few laps. And then some good battles midway through between Arjun, Jesus, Johansson, and Conrad as well, who unfortunately retired from the race towards the end. But a lot of these guys, a track like this is very tough. They'll learn a lot, and it's just more to look forward to in the future. Yeah,
and then great result as well for Julian as well, winning in the GT3 series in class. Fantastic dominant drive from him. Ricardo come across in second. We saw them both go through their Team GT. Ricardo, those guys always seem to be in the top 3 one week or another, so good result from them.
I think both the leaders had more or less faultless races today. I don't think anybody had an answer for Chi and Julian today.
Oh, I wonder if one of you guys just happens to have, that you can look at quickly, the schedule, just to see where we're at next week.
I'll look at it.
Well, I do, just while those guys are getting themselves ready, maybe we'll get a couple come up for an interview, but we'll go to a quick commercial break and we'll be right back.
Take your hobby to the next level with a quality racing rig that works great with a PS3, Xbox 360, and a PC. GT Omega Racing Simulator is compatible with a wide range of steering wheels including Logitech, Fanatic, Thrustmaster, and more. The GT Omega is available now worldwide by going to www.gtomegaracing.com.
Okay, welcome back to ARL-TV. Just finishing up on the round 8 of the Grand Am series here from Road Atlanta. Chi Nguyen just took a fantastic victory here in the Riley series. Just watching his restart now. And we're just waiting just a couple of minutes just to see if we can get a couple of drivers up for an interview. Maybe at least one of the Apex Racing UK guys will jump up. But just to remind you, just later on in 12-13 minutes time, we are going to Zandvoort for what is round 8 of the Road to Pro Grand Prix series as well. So stay tuned for that. We'll go off air for about a minute and come straight back on. So some of the staff will change around, and we are joined actually by Dean Prescott. So Dean, tell us a little bit about your race today, mate. How did that go?
Oh, the little change to the setup before the race was a bit of a disaster. It weren't too bad. I didn't have the pace of Chi, so just stayed in second basically.
We didn't see it, but we know you had a little moment.
No, don't say this.
Unfortunately, Liam's eagle eyes caught it. So
I knew it'd be Williams picking it up.
So that's that down to the setup changes. What did you change on the car, and how did that affect it?
I basically lowered the nose, so it tends to give the front a bit more grip and a bit more turn in. So coming over the bumps where it was at the bottom of the S's, it just gripped and just threw me out. So
it's unfortunate. The first few laps there, how were you feeling with the car, and especially with your pace? You were looking good towards the end of the race. You were running similar pace to Chi. Do you think you would have been able to stay much closer to him if you had not made that mistake?
I've got no chance. He's one of the quickest guys in this car, so I'm just happy to be as close as I was at the start, to be honest. So it was pulling a gap from the guys in third and back, so just tried to keep him in sight and just stick with him basically.
And championship points that you picked up today, has that been an improvement or?
I've not looked yet, I'm just checking tyre temps and stuff, which were horrible. Front left was down to 77% worse, so it's a bit crazy. Saved us and jump out.
It's a very long race. I have a quick question as well. You know, we saw a lot of the drivers, you know, crashing out from little mistakes. You know, it's a small margin for error here. What was going through your mind? Were you just keeping the focus up, you know, being systematic to your line, or were you just, you know, distracting yourself in different ways while you counted down the last few laps?
Well, I was a bit surprised with the fuel, to be honest. I come round with about 10 minutes left and he said 5 laps left, fuel left. So I was like, am I going to make this? And then again with about 3 minutes to go, he'd come on again saying you've got 2 laps, so I was a little bit wary of that, but no, it weren't too bad.
Yeah, I think the white flag sort of jumped out on us a little bit. We thought it'd come out a bit early, if anything, but
No, the race that I did the other day, it was 41 laps total. So if anything, I think I might have been a lap short, to be honest. Just looking at the points, I've got 108, but I've scored 113, I think, so.
Yep. Congrats on second place there.
yeah, well done,
Yeah, well done,
mate. We'll see you next week, Marcus. Where are we next week? Did you say?
Next week is Watkins Glen Boot, and
In fact, it's the Enduro, so it'll clash with the FW31.
Ah, so we won't be covering it. That's a shame.
unfortunate. But at least they have Barber to look forward to, which is a nice fun track after that. Then Indianapolis Road and Sonoma IRL.
Right, thanks very much, Dean. Wish you all the luck for next week. Obviously, you're going to stay in the commentary box with us because we're going to switch up in a short sec to the Road to Pro series. Well done again today for second place, and everybody else for the podium finishers. And due to the clash, we will see you in a couple of weeks' time. But from myself, Alex Simpson, Liam Williams, and Marcus Caton for joining us. Thanks, guys. Really appreciate you helping me out today. It's a farewell from Road Atlanta.
Race fans, it's time for those most famous words in motorsports. Drivers, start your engines!
Michael Conti comes up at a corner number 4 to the checkered flag. He wins his first NASCAR